and maybe 190. And then I stopped weighing. Like at the doctor, I realized that I didn't have to get weighed because it would upset me, because it really scared me to weigh so much. And then I finally realized that averaging 170, that I've been that for a really long time. And I think I somehow accepted that I'll probably just be that for a long time, forever. Like, my body has kind of stabilized over the last few years, and so I've kind of accepted that number. But during my eating disorder, like, peak, I have no idea what I weighed, and we didn't have a scale in the house. But I do know, I think actually I know that people would call me the skinny white girl. So I think people saw me as skinny. And I remember like showing my stomach and wearing really tight clothes. So that means that I was pretty small, because I don't know if that makes sense, but like, but I know that, how my body looks, like, there must have been, it's hard, I guess that's interesting, because it really shows how in denial I can be around how my body is. Because if I think about it, there was a time that I didn't have, like stomach rolls or love handles, but in that moment, I still was fat. So that's really interesting to look back and be like, yeah, I guess I was really skinny. But I've never felt skinny.
That's the interesting thing that strikes me, because you say that you never looked at the scale. And the scale, I mean, even you can't even really call that objective, but it's more objective because it's a specific number that you can see, like you compare yourself to different people of your same height and stuff like that. But when you don't look at the scale and you just look at, oh, how do I see myself in the mirror? Like, that's so subjective, and totally depends on your particular perspective that day or that month or whatever. Let me see here.
I was also always the tallest, and during 4th and 5th grade, I was probably like a foot taller than all of my friends, and they would really make fun of me all the time. So it might have been that I did know that the number seemed really arbitrary or abstract to me, but I could physically see parts of my body, so that may be why the scale didn't really ever make sense to me.
Let's see. I think, yeah, when we were talking on the phone, you were telling me that controlling your eating, you felt like it was one of the only things that you had control over. Can you talk about that?
Well, it's definitely an idea that I didn't really come to on my own or realize until after being in therapy. But I think being made fun of for most of my childhood and teenage life, and having a pretty unstable family life, and then my mom going away, and then being introduced to like the drug and that sort of world, and getting in trouble at school. And then also my mom's rhetoric about presentation. I feel like I was raised to like hold my stomach in and be presentable. So I think, and then I think I just had like cause and effect, or like there were better results when I looked better, or better. So I think that for me, when I was skinnier, things were better. And I learned, like, I was starting to learn how to be skinnier, from 4th grade forward. So I think that there was this like subconscious realization of my life is going to be better if I'm skinnier. And I know how to be skinnier, and it's by not eating, staying up all night, doing drugs instead. And then it ultimately bulimia. So
What happened, what's kind of been your timeline since, I think you stopped around 10th grade, you said you got sober. What happened from 10th grade till today?
Well, so I got sober when I was 15. So I was halfway through 10th grade. And I feel like during my sobriety, I got sober in an adolescent program. Like it was for teens, and we were together all the time, and we had functions on the weekend, and hung out and made parties together that were sober parties. So there was lots of junk food, and I think that I would accidentally skip meals, but it wasn't the same motives that I had before. So it was it took a long time to begin to eat regularly and learn when I needed to eat. And then it was also really hard after just like cold turkey stop like bulimia, because then I was so used to eating a lot, like going a long time without eating and then eating a lot. So I'm not sure, because also there was so much going on with getting sober and living this new life, and people weren't really talking about eating disorder stuff. And most people that I know, even today, have eating disorders, don't talk about them or aren't interested in healing or recovering from it. So it's almost like I just forgot about it, or just sort of suppressed it and just kind of figured it out along the way. And then, and actually, so I'm remembering things as we're talking. I lived in an apartment by myself, and I got Slim Fast again. And then there was a gym at my apartment, so I was also trying to work out a lot. And I don't think that I saw that as eating disorder behavior yet, because I was trying to look good, and I was still very much in the dynamic with my mom of getting positive feedback for losing weight, and being fit. And even my friends around me have fed into that, like, oh, you look great, are you losing weight? Or, oh, I can tell you're losing weight, you look great. Which now that just offends me. And if I know a person, I'll tell them like that's not a compliment for me. But it happens all the time at work, which is really annoying. But so yeah, I remember, I guess, I was around 18, and I was doing that. And then I moved here, and then I moved in with my mom, and that was really hard to move in with my mom again, because I felt like she saw how I ate. She's always had a problem with how much sugar I eat or junk food, and I've been a vegetarian since I was 15, so she's always had a problem with that. And it seems absurd that she would call me fat. So, but I know that that's happened. But it's been a long time, because I've kind of retrained our relationship. So she hasn't been talking about my body, but I know that that's part of, but I feel like I've kind of blocked out that part of her talking to me like that. because I know that there was a lot of crazy making while living with her around my food and my body. And then I also my girlfriend at the time would also get concerned with how I was eating. And one time I got Oreos on a road trip and I got the silent treatment because she was like mad at me for some reason for eating Oreos. And I guess maybe she could identify that I was eating them, that I was an emotional eater. I don't really know, but it really upset me. And I got to the point where I was hiding food in my car. And by food, it's mostly like cookies and chocolate. And that also, I would get icing, like the jars to frost a cake, and I would eat like just one as if it were a candy bar, all the time. And so I think that, and I also could tell that I was binge eating, or that I was emotionally eating. I don't think I had a vocabulary around it, but that started to happen after I moved here. And then I remember not being able to fit into any of my clothes during the winter. And then I was really depressed. So it was like throughout the eating disorder timeline, there's all these other variables that have really affected it. And I don't know which comes first, but I know that, that it was like winter and I just moved here. I couldn't fit into anything. My girlfriend had a problem with how I ate. My mom scrutinized my body and how I ate. I was hiding food in the car. And then I tried OA, Overeaters Anonymous, because I think having so much knowledge around addiction as far as my alcoholism, and I've been to like Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous and Codependence Anonymous, like I've done other, like Al-Anon, and that's kind of like what we do. I think in AA, we're like, oh, we have another problem, like let's go to another 12-step. So I went to Overeaters Anonymous, and what, I don't know if this is what the program is there, but my experience felt like that I needed to cut out chocolate and sugar because that was like my food, like my drug food, I guess. And it seemed like that's how I would measure my sobriety in that. And also I think I had a sponsor for like a split second, and there was like a measuring of food. And I guess sort of having a background of like really like restricting certain foods and crazy diets and things like that. The measuring food thing did not feel healthy to me. It didn't feel safe. And it just felt like more shame because I was still hungry, and it was just stupid. I don't want to live my life measuring food because I have an eating disorder. Like, so it just, I don't know. It just didn't feel right. And then I remember like trying to not eat chocolate, and then I ate a candy bar, and then I just cried, and I called whoever and was just crying because I had relapsed. And then I just decided not to go to OA anymore. And I